everybody. Today I'm going to be giving a quick demo on creating natural breathing animation loops, like breathe cycles in video games or idles in feature film. Um, it's a pretty straightforward thing, but there's some things you can keep in mind when doing this. So we're going to use the Tina rig from Animation Mentor. First thing to keep in mind is just how actually breathing works. You bring in air into your lungs and it expands your rib cage and pushes down your diaphragm, which tends to inflate your belly. So you get like an expansion in the chest and in the stomach. And often it comes in from the belly first, 1, 2 to the chest, so you can get like a wave, right? When you're doing yoga and meditation techniques, they can teach you how to like fill your chest in a much more like full way by certain types of rhythms. But basic breathing obviously is not as noticeable. When you animate it, what you want to make sure is it's not all happening at the same time. That's the key to make a nice realistic breathe cycle. So you've seen video game cycles, and these are some just random examples I found online. And these are all just like GIFs of characters standing and breathing, and you can see it's just a bit of just idle up and down. There's some offsets in the shoulders and the body and the head. Right, here's some more kind of simple examples. This is with an Animation Mentor rig here, and you can see the chest and the shoulders moving, a little bit of the head. This one's a very stylized one on the left. And I shot some reference on the right here of like a heavy breathing, after exercise. And it's just a cycle. And here I found online some reference from someone also after exercise, heavy breathing. And here you can see it's not an even cycle in this case, that the inhale takes more time than the exhale. And there's like a quick drop. So it's like, right? And what's actually happening in the mouth doesn't matter as much. You can kind of be breathing with like clenched teeth. You can even be breathing with a closed mouth through your nose, right? So there's lots of ways you can animate the mouth and the face in a breathe cycle. What's important is to get the expansion and like a rhythm going through the body. Here you can see on the right, my head kind of kicking forward, right? It's happening a little bit in her, but there's a lot of shoulders happening in her breathe cycle here. My name is Jason Martinsen. I've been a mentor at Animation Mentor since 2006. If you go to my website at jmartinsen.com, you can find a lot of the work I have done over the years. So feel free to look at that when you have some time. So the first thing I started out with in this was just a nice pose. Her hands on her legs, kind of bent over, out of breath, a little bit of tension in her face, and just finding a setup that works well. So now if I do move her chest and upper body around, you can see her hands are connected to her legs. If I do move her hips, her hands are connected to her legs. So they're constrained to her legs in this case, so I can just animate everything breathing. And all I did was start with, it's a 38 frame cycle, the cog. So there's just a translation up and down and a rotation, and there's no keys on anything here except for the cog. And this is the first thing I want to get to work. So the first thing I want to do is not make this an even cycle, right? So I'll probably take these curves here that are halfway through and drag them over to the right. So now it's going to be going up for a while and then coming down faster, right? So there's going to be a better rhythm here. And we haven't even animated anything else. And then the next thing you can do is animate the chest or the head, but probably the chest would be the next one. So here we have an actual control on the rig called breathe, and this control, as you can see, it's pretty subtle what it does. can see it's just expanding her chest. So you want to make sure that has a nice cycle to it, and then the same thing with this, you can offset it. I also added a little bit of scale here on top of it. I think it works well with this rig. It depends on the rig, but you can see as you scale this chest, it kind of gives you a nice free breathing. You don't want to do it too much, but a little bit of that is nice. And then there's some rotation, right? Rotation forward and back. And then the same thing, I'll take all these curves and just move them down a bit. And probably the next thing I want to do is offset them from this. So if this is going up and down and the low point is at frame 1 and 38, I can just move this backwards or take this curve and move it forwards so it's offset. The key is that you need to be able to have everything cycling. So once you've got your first and last frame matching, the first and last frame are identical here, you can offset the curve as you want, and you go to the curves control and you do post-infinity cycle and pre-infinity cycle, and you can see here that in the graph editor this is continuing to cycle. Later on, if you want to make this bake down to just this frame range, you would set a key here and then you would set a key here, right? So it would look like this, and you would then delete this key and it would now work within this frame window if you were going to have to export this. But we don't need to do that yet. We first want to get the feel to be right. So you offset that, and then of course you want to animate the head. And the head would be also offset. So we could take all these curves and the head, move these over as well so it's a heavier drop, and then drag this farther down the timeline. Same with the shoulders. I'm going to have some up and down on the shoulders. So maybe we move these down a bit, offset this a little bit. So now everything is cycling, but the up is happening much slower than the down, right? So as we see her, and we've just animated a few controls, her chest, her head, her shoulders, and because of this nice offset, we already have a natural feeling breathe cycle. And it's easy to take this and edit it, right? So, you know, we feel like this is has a nice feel for it because she's got a little bit of up and down. There's a nice offset to the rhythm. Everything's like cascading. Maybe it's a bit too overlapped. I probably would tone down this head movement a bit if I was like polishing this. The rotate is a bit excessive, so maybe a little less there. Feels better. And you could add in some neck movement. I haven't touched her neck yet. So these controls here. All right, so once we're happy with this cycle, you can easily take this and edit this into a different type of breathe cycle because you already have this nice rhythm. So if we wanted her to be like in a more, you know, aggressive standing video game idle, you could take her arms off her feet or off her legs, and then give her a different hand pose. Maybe straighten her up a little bit more. I'm using a curve offset, so I can just adjust her posture without changing the curve too much. Maybe widen your stance a bit. And now we have like a cool looking video game idle with very little adjustments, right? So this could be like an idle of a character kind of breathing heavy in a video game after running around. So yeah, I mean it's pretty straightforward. The question is the rhythm you want to feel. So we could push this rhythm even more if we wanted. If you take all these curves you have on the head and shoulders and hips, and you just take those middle values and move them over even more. Now the drop's going to be even sharper. Probably be excessive, but there you can feel like, and we could even push this down farther, so we can take this shoulder pose, really drop it. And now we have like a, and you could add in, you know, if you want to have this cycle over a longer period of time, like it's 38 frames right now. So if we want to double this, that would be 76, I believe. And everything's still cycling nicely. But you could add in a left and right. So you could take the translate of the cog and you could set a key halfway through at frame 35 and move her over, and at the beginning you can move her back, and now you're getting like this, you know, slight drift left and right. If you don't like the timing of that, you can just adjust where it is in space, right? So she's kind of got like this, and you can exaggerate this too if you want with the rotate Z, right? Sorry, rotate Z would be right there. Right, and then this also can be offset as you see fit relative to the, and now it's kind of got this little bit of a wave to it. It's all just offsetting the curves, and once you're happy with what you have, oh, looks like I have a step key here. I don't know where that's coming from. Rotate Z. Ah, there we go. It wasn't mathematically lining up, but now it is. I had made the end frame too soon, so there's a pop. But now it perfectly lines up, and there's a nice breathe cycle of her kind of like checking it out. And here, if you wanted to, now you could add in like some head turns. She could look one way, have a blink, look another way. This is just a layering. So you have this animation that's just cycling. Once you're happy with it, you can bake it all out and save it into, you know, the library for your film. And these kind of things are quite easy to adjust. So just remember, using your graph editor is really helpful for these, because, you know, for things like the chest breathe, translate values and scale values, you can take your weighted tangents and pull them out, so you can really feel the, instead of it just being even, it'll really pull up and stay at the extreme. Right now you're feeling that change. It's a much bigger change. All right, I hope you enjoyed that little demo and learned a few things about animating a breathe cycle.